bourbon is like that piece of driftwood that you find washed up on the beach that's perfectly aged. And there's just so much character there, you know. And then like gin is like a beautiful seafoam green, you know, that has some light texture to it. And so that brings something to the canvas already. Vodka's a little different. Vodka's like a totally blank white slate, you know, because any color goes well with that. You can put anything on that, right? You know, gin is cool, tequila's cool, mezcal's really cool, scotch is cool, rum is cool. Like all of it has a time and its place, and I try not to lean too heavily into one thing.
And welcome to another episode of the Bandit Room. My name is Charles. I'm joined here in the studio today by Mr. Caleb.
Hello.
Welcome. Across the table from me, we have Mr. Aggie.
What's up?
You back from Augusta?
Back from Augusta and my riding trip in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Did all of this stuff in 5 days. So I'm back now.
That's a long vacation for you.
There's no vacation. What the hell are you talking about? Every morning at 8:30, you were calling me. I was talking to you.
It's a long time away.
I was on vacation for one day when I was at the Masters. Yeah. I couldn't take my cell phone
That's true. You had to abandon your phone.
I had to abandon my phone.
Yeah.
But I did write down your phone number before I got off the aircraft.
Right. I got a call from an anonymous number.
I did call you to make sure you have a call received from Augusta. But he did not answer the call, my friend.
What kind of phone was it? Was it a rotary dial?
You know, there was since I was at the Berkman's place, there was a lot of beverages.
Yeah.
I do not remember what type of phone it was.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a rotary dial or a push button. I do not remember that.
But it was green, right?
I have no idea. I know it was right outside the bathroom, so I just grabbed it.
Had to be green. Well, our guest today, you just heard him, Mr. Bob Peters. You were also at the Masters, were you not, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to come and hang out with you guys back at the Bandit Room. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, Augusta, I was working a hospitality house down there for 9 days.
Yeah.
So, we were down there for a while, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, a lot of fun, and served a bunch of drinks and lots of smiles, met a lot of new people.
Yeah.
Did not see one blade of grass. Not one. Not from the star of the show, the Augusta National, but we had a lot of fun times and met a lot lot of great people.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, was the weather cooperating when you were there?
Yeah, it was a great day.
Okay.
It was
the
day before it had rained or whatnot, but that day was great.
Okay.
It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Bob, you are the beverage director of Built on Hospitality. That includes a handful of restaurants now.
So right down the road, we have Old Town Kitchen and Cocktails.
That's right.
Which is a delicious, wonderful place. I love that that area. And we also have several places in Charlotte. We have the flagship restaurant, which is the Goodyear House on Davidson Avenue in the NoDa neighborhood. We also have Haymaker, which is downtown, right across the street from Panther. Well, it's about 2 blocks down from Panther Stadium and almost right across the street from the baseball park. Yeah. So we're right there on Poplar. And then we have several places that are going to open up in the very near future.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Couple projects this year.
Yeah. So is this too early to talk about it?
Well, I mean, we could. Yeah. Let's tease it out. Let's tease it out.
Okay. So I'm opening my first ever craft cocktail bar. That's going to be me and my business partners over at Built on Hospitality. Well, I say business partners, but I'm the beverage director. My people.
Yeah.
So that is going to be called Chiefs, and I'm naming that after my dad, who passed away about 9 years ago. That was his nickname, and he was a total smarty. Smart a blank.
You can say what you want.
Smart ass, and so he was a lot of fun, and so we're gonna do lots of really cool drinks over there. That's gonna be really high end. And sit down only. We're going to have a little patio out there and a little tiny mill house, 123-year-old mill house, right next door, funny enough, right next door to Goodyear House.
Oh, nice.
So we'll be able to kind of transfer things back and forth. Very convenient for sure. And then a little bit later in the summer, we're opening a craft cocktail bar down in South End Charlotte, which is a super hot spot for young folks down there. And that is going to be called Folia. And that's going to be really amazing as well.
Gotcha. Now, the inspiration for that, I was seeing in a recent article, was a trip to Miami that you had recently?
So I wasn't on that trip, but I've always wanted to do something along these lines. Like, think Miami Garden Bar.
Okay.
Like something like a hidden garden kind of thing, you know, like really, really cool. And, you know, we spend so much time in our urban jungle kind of, so to speak, you know, like our office buildings and downtown, and there's concrete and asphalt and steel and brick everywhere. Like it's nice just kind of get away every now and again and have something different, even just visually,
right?
You know, which I think is really beautiful. Like getting around, you know, taking a walk on the golf course, you know, like that kind of thing is just such a nice break from our day to day. That's what I want to do. So I pitched the concept to the guys, and they were like, "That sounds like a great idea. Let's move."
Awesome. Now, I would go back to your backstory just a little bit here. Now, before you were at Goodyear House, you were at the Ritz-Carlton in Charlotte. You were Global Bartender of the Year for the Ritz-Carlton Corporation. You were a featured mixologist at the Cayman Cookout Food Festival. It's hosted by Eric Ripert, Jose Andre, and Anthony Bourdain.
Yep, when he was still with
around
us,
at the time?
Wow. When for the first 2 years I was there, he was with us. It was pretty crazy.
That is
and then there's a lot of other people that were there as well. Like some people are very familiar in this area. Sean did some events with Sean Brock. Let's see who else. Rick Bayless, Robert Irvine, Emerald and I did like 5 years worth of events together. He is like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
For Emerald Lagasse.
Yeah, Emerald Lagasse. And one afternoon, my wife, she sent me a message, and she was like, "Hey, are you busy?" And she was on the beach with a glass of champagne in her hand with our daughter playing on the beach. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm busy. I'm working. Remember? You remember why we're here? Yeah, I'm working." So she was like, "Do you have a minute?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I don't have a minute. Again, I'm working."
Yeah.
So he was like, "You probably should come and see this." So I was like, "All right, this better be good." So I marched down, and I'm wearing like a chef coat and full length black, like nice dress pants and like loafers or something, you know, like totally dressed up. I'm in the kitchen the whole day prepping and doing things. And I marched down to the beach, and she's laid out on her beach chair with a glass of champagne in her hand. I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" She goes, look right there. And I'll turn around, and my daughter is making sandcastles with Daniel Boulud, who's one of the greatest chefs in the world right now. I'm like, "Oh, that is worth it. Thank you for making me come down here." So it was definitely that part of what I've done in my career has been super extraordinary and a lot of fun and lots of great memories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talking about Anthony Bourdain, I really miss that dude. I so enjoyed watching his shows and the way he presented everything. I don't think I really miss any TV personality who's not with us anymore. But that guy, he was. I never met the guy, but just watching his shows almost felt like we knew him, kind of thing.
Yeah. He was so honest about everything. It was almost like there was a transparency, you know, and you could tell who he was.
Yeah. Same kind of guy off camera as he is on camera.
I didn't get to really hang out with him. He was not great around crowds.
Yeah.
That was one of the things, and I've read a couple of his books, and it was one thing that kind of drove him crazy was like small talk.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know somebody, you know, but they know you, then that's how they're going to start talking to you. And so I think that was a portion of what drove his anxiety was small talk. And so at a certain point, he was the first year that I was there, shortly after I met him, like a giant group of probably 200 people had gathered around him and kind of forced him into a corner.
Yeah.
And there were some hedges around him, and then on the other side of the hedges was the beach.
Yeah.
And we were kind of on a deck, and at a certain point, you could just see his eyes were big as saucers, and he was like, "Okay, I've had enough." And so he's so tall, he just stepped over the hedges, and nobody else could do that. And he just walked down the beach and disappeared. And I was like, "Well done, chef. Well done."
Nice.
That's so cool. So, how does one get into this whole field of mixology? So where'd you start? How'd you kind of get interested?
Well, before we get into that, what is the term mixologist, bartender? What's the difference?
So on my business card it says beverage director. I think, but I call myself a bartender, like I always have. But there is, I think, certain time and place for the term mixologist. So in my opinion, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that would tell me I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong, but in my opinion, mixologist to bartender is the same as a chef to a cook. So a chef makes the recipes, a cook follows them, a mixologist makes the recipes, a bartender follows them.
Okay, that's a good way to explain it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Now, again, I don't mean to be offensive to anybody because, again, I call myself a bartender. And so while I was down at the Masters, people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a bartender. And they're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So now, go ahead.
For a
please.
few places.
Yeah.
For a few places.
Yeah.
Let's get into your backstory a little bit. So you grew up in Charlotte.
Born and raised, which was crazy. I got to see Charlotte come from, you know, a wee bit of nothing to, you know, where we're sitting right now, which is, I think, in this kind of really pretty Goldilocks zone where we're not too small, but we're also not too big. You know, we have a lot of fun things going around. So, yes, I've definitely seen a lot of change there. And I think probably after I got out of college, I came home and was looking for a job and found a job bussing tables somewhere. I think it was this place called, well, I know what it's called. It's called the Porcupine Cafe.
Okay.
It's on East Boulevard, and this was approximately 100 years ago. So
You're aging very well.
well, thank you. Thank you.
We need to start
it's
making
all the
some
booze
beauty products. Now.
Yeah.
Well, it's all the booze that I drink.
That keeps you young.
I have pickled myself.
Oh, you pick on
So at any rate, I got a job bartending at this dive bar called the Elizabeth Pub. I was probably 21, 22 or something, which feels like 100 years ago now, seriously. And so that, I really loved it.
These were your first restaurant jobs.
Yep.
Bussing and then bartending.
Yep, pretty much. And so I literally started at the bottom, and the bar was not a nice place. I loved it, but it was not nice. You know what I mean? It was definitely a dive bar. There was no windows in the whole place.
Yeah.
None. Zero. And there was carpet on the floors, and if you spilt a drink, you just like kind of rubbed it into the carpet. You know what I mean? And back then there was smoking indoors too.
Right.
So like there was ashtrays everywhere, and there was a cloud of smoke if there was more than probably 5 or 10 people in there, which there almost never was. like it was not busy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I learned how to sort of get my first couple of chops in. And then one thing led to another, and I started working at a place just a little bit busier, and then just a little bit busier, and I kept getting a couple of lucky breaks, and then all of a sudden I was working at some places that were doing some high volume stuff, and then I kind of got a good reputation because I'm a hard worker, thanks mom and dad. And so then that led to one day so this is funny. I was running this big high volume bar, this kind of meat market bar downtown Charlotte called Alley Cat.
Okay.
And I had a bar back who was great. His name is Brian Lee, and he was probably 18 or 19, maybe I think he was 19 when he first started. And so we worked there for, I don't know, a year or two together, and he was fantastic. I love working with him. He was always Johnny on the spot. Come to find out a couple of years later, and that place absolutely cranked. Like it was so crazy busy, like all the time.
Yeah.
People would give away, and this was 15 years ago, people would give away $500 shifts because they weren't making enough money.
Oh my gosh.
They'd be like, "You want Thursday?" I just don't feel. I mean, it's not. You know, it's not. You know, and that's still a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was like a bad shift there.
Wow.
So everybody was making just an absolute ton of money, and that included our barbacks. Brian Lee saved his money very well and bought a restaurant. He bought a restaurant.
Wow. Going from bar back to buying a restaurant.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And so Brian opened a place in Charlotte called Pisces, and by this time he was one of my very dear friends and favorite people in the whole world. And so he came to me one day and said, "I need some help." I was like, "Anything you want, 100%." He said, "I need a cocktail menu. We're expanding Pisces, putting a little lounge on the side of it." And so I was like, "Okay, well let's do it. What do you want to do?" He said, "I want to be able to charge $15 a drink." And again, 15 years ago, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, let's go. So I just kind of went down the rabbit hole because I knew you can't just do a nice Jack and Coke. You know what I mean? Like no matter where you are, $15 for a Jack and Coke is a ton of money. And so you're not going to have a lot of business that way. So I knew we had to really elevate the program. So he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, there's a lot to unpack here. I was like, we could talk about really nice ice, beautiful glassware, a beautiful, very knowledgeable presentation, great technique, a curated list of liquors, so there should be a reason why that's there, not just there's stuff there. And I said, and then we could talk about, the kind of farm to glass kind of stuff, and so he just looked at me and he was like, wow, that's a lot. I was like, it is a lot. He said, do it. I said, okay. So we did. And so a couple of years, we started getting some pretty well revered acclaim around the city. And so chefs from around town would come and sit at the bar and be like, what is this guy doing? Because I've heard lots of great things. And so I got to be good friends with some of the chefs from around town. And then we started getting articles, and then those articles started turning into national articles. And then occasionally somebody would schedule longer layovers in Charlotte to come hang out with me for a couple hours at Pisces before they went back to the airport to go wherever their final destination was, which was really big honor. Yeah. And so then when you do something like that, eventually somebody else will come knocking, and that's when the Ritz came knocking at the door. Gotcha. And so we took that project from instant city sort of fame to national articles to international articles. Nice. And so then that's when I got invited by the CEO of the Ritz-Carlton himself, Hervé Umler, came into the punch room one day and was just like, this is fantastic. We need more of you. Let's get you to the Cayman Islands. He was like, do you have a passport? And I was like, I'll have it tomorrow. He started...
you must know somebody.
What? No, that's just how bad I was. I wanted to get it. I was like, whatever you want. So then he sent me to France a couple of times, and then I was helping with Ritz-Carltons all up and down the East Coast.
Wow.
And did a ton of really cool events with them. So that was a great time.
Now, I got to know you through the Old Town Kitchen bourbon dinners that you're starting to host here. You're doing that quarterly?
So we're trying to do that quarterly. Chef Drew Carter and I, and the general manager, Chris Cutini, over at Old Town Kitchen and Cocktails. We started thinking about some fun stuff we could do and things to drive business and to expand our name a little bit down here in Rock Hill. And Rock Hill is a great town, and I think that there's no reason why we shouldn't have stuff down here. You know what I mean? Really great events. So I don't think you have to get in the car and drive all the way up to Charlotte or to Fort Mill or whatever it is in order to go do something fun. So I was just well, let's do it here.
Right.
Let's do it here. So we started doing it, and we've gotten some great feedback so far, and we decided that we're going to try to do it about once a quarter.
Gotcha. You're going to keep the same general format, so 4 courses, you have a...
So you've been to one of them, Charles?
I went to the one last month.
I didn't get any invite for that.
You were at your own bourbon dinner in Louisville that day.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Masters, Louisville,
Was that that dinner at the Brown Hotel? Was that the same one?
Oh, yeah. It was literally the same night as Dean's thing.
Yep.
But yeah,
all right, next one.
Next one.
Well, yeah, that's it. So we've
expertly
got
paired.
The last one was Old Forester. So the Old Forester was our partner. The one before that, which was in December, which was Southern Star Bourbon out of Statesville in North Carolina, and that was fantastic. If you haven't tried that bourbon,
I know which one you're talking about.
It's really good. It's fantastic. And then so I don't want to say when. It's not super yet set in stone, but keep your eyes peeled on social media for late June.
All right.
I think June 27th, which is a Thursday, and we'll.
Do you have a partner set up for that one?
Yeah, but we got to make sure.
Haven't released.
Yeah, haven't released it yet. Gotcha. So I'm teasing.
Okay.
Right on.
All right.
Dangling some carrots.
Yeah. In 3 weeks, I'm going on my very first bourbon trail trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you have some
Lexington.
spots lined up?
Mark has done it.
Okay.
So we're just going to fly in there to Lexington.
Okay.
And do the
I'm
bourbon
sure
trail.
you've been to a few.
I'm not. No, I haven't been to the Bourbon Trail yet.
Okay.
But I really want to go to Buffalo Trace because I love Buffalo Trace, but I want to go to the Bourbon Pompeii, which is the Colonel Taylor distillery that burnt down.
Yeah,
I see it. That burnt down beside the Buffalo Trace distillery, 150 years ago or whatever it was. They call it Bourbon Pompeii, which I think is cool. Two of my favorite things, history and archaeology kind of stuff, like Indiana Jones meets bourbon guy.
There's like a lost bottle underneath the site.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'll find out which.
Bob, stop digging in the bourbon.
I found a 200-year-old barrel down there.
It looked like one of those little idle monkeys.
Some booby traps. When
That's
you run
right.
out.
That's right. Bourbon traps.
Giant barrels.
Yes.
Barrels rolling down.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
just texted Mark to find out where we're going.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Make sure we get his approval. Yeah. So your current role at Built on Hospitality. So you're the beverage director there. I'm sure kind of baseline that involves setting the drinks menu for all these different locations.
Yep.
Are you also kind of hands-on in hiring all the bartenders that are working at these places? Or?
I try not to be too overbearing with my general managers. You know, I let them do what they do best, and a lot of that is like figure out who's going to mesh well with their staff. You know, like I'll come in and spend a day or two a week, depending on what needs to happen. But ultimately, they're the ones that are going to have to be dealing with whoever they hire. So I sort of let them do that. So if I have somebody that I really like that I might know already,
Right.
like, I don't know,
Yeah.
John Joseph Jingleheimer Smith, you know, like I'll be like, John, come on in and meet my Chris Cucini, the general manager, and then let Chris decide if that's a good fit or not.
Yeah.
Typically it works.
Okay.
Typically. Not all the time, but
Yeah.
typically it works.
And how are you checking in on all of these different locations? You popping in periodically in all these different spots?
100%. So right before I came over here, I popped in down to Old Town for a little while and spoke with Chef and a couple of staff and found out how today went and how things are moving and looked at the menu and a couple of different things. But then I had to come down here to get to the Bandit Room. So I would typically spend at least the entire morning and some of the afternoon there. But today was a little abbreviated, but I'd typically do that in all places. Or if I have to do something particular, if somebody's like, hey, you know, come look at this and tell me what you think about the draft system or whatever, then I'll come and kind of evaluate and see if we need to go get somebody to come in and take a look at something or be like, oh, no, look, it's fixed, you know, like whatever it is. So I try not to be too underfoot, but also available whenever anybody needs me.
So as a mixologist, how many drinks or cocktails that you are the, I guess, inventor or founder or the creator?
Yeah.
Creator.
So do you have like a list of...
What would be the right word? Creator?
Yeah, creator.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't.
Do you have like a record book of...
I mean, I've got them all. For the most part, all of them are written down somewhere.
Yeah.
I've tried to get better. I'm a pen to paper kind of person.
Yeah.
So I used to do everything on note cards.
Yeah.
And so that makes it kind of easy, and also you don't get distracted by things. But in this sort of Dunder Mifflin paperless world, I've tried to kind of get better about my laptop and making notes on like my phone and things like that, so I don't ever misplace something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Still, however, I've got, I don't know, a shelf full of probably that many note cards from past years, and then I don't know, a bunch of stuff on my computer as well, and then things that I don't have to write down that are up here.
Right.
So there's a lot. I mean, I would say a couple hundred at least.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
a lot.
Yeah.
So is there like a favorite liquor that you prefer to make most of your cocktails with?
So that's a great question, and I love this, but it also changes.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So in the winter, it's really easy to mix with bourbon.
Right.
Bourbon to me is king. You know, bourbon is like that old 120-year-old piece of driftwood that you find washed up on the beach that's perfectly aged, but for God knows how long, you know, and then you make a beautiful piece of art out of that. There's just so much character there, you know. And then like gin is like a beautiful sea foam green, you know, that has some light texture to it. And so that brings something to the canvas already. Vodka's a little different. Vodka's like a totally blank white slate, you know, because any color goes well with that. You can put anything on that, right? And so everything has its place, time and place. Vodka, sometimes I think is a little rude because it doesn't bring anything to the party. You know, it doesn't show up with a bottle of wine. But no, that also, you know, vodka's I tend to see that as for people who don't necessarily like to taste their alcohol as much, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I drank vodka for a long time when I was 12, but no, I kid. But gin is cool, tequila's cool, mezcal's really cool, scotch is cool, rum is cool. Like all of it has a time and its place, and I try not to lean too heavily into one thing, but it's hard not to really love bourbon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, okay, rephrase the question. If you could only mix with one drink for the rest of your life, it would have to be bourbon?
I don't. That's a tough one. That's it would. Okay, how about if I get the two? Can I have two? I'll take
Okay, two.
I'll take either bourbon or mezcal.
Okay. So, describe mezcal. I'm not familiar with mezcal.
So mezcal is like tequila's smoky, rustic cousin.
Okay.
It's kind of a
Like
a
an
love
aged-
child in between scotch and tequila.
Okay.
So I think smoky, rustic tequila. But it's not the same thing. But that's an easy way to describe
How
it.
do you drink it? Just on the rocks, straight?
If it's good, you can.
Okay.
Like again, and just like in the.
What would be a good brand?
So one of my favorites that's starting to become available in this area is Bonez.
We're just trying to get sponsors. So
Bonez is
Keep talking.
great. Also Boscal. Boscal are some of my buddies.
Boscal?
Yep. Boscal. Boscal Mezcal.
Okay.
Okay.
And so those guys are great as well. I've done a little bit of work with them, and they're great people, and they take care of the area which most of that mezcal is coming from. They're doing reseeding projects. Like they're really doing it the right way.
Nice.
Very cool.
So I'm not a big cocktail drinker.
We can fix you.
You haven't had the right. You haven't done
That's right.
this guy's work yet.
Come on home.
The most cocktail I'll get to is having a good old fashioned.
Sure.
Right? Otherwise, I'm a straight bourbon drinker or beer or wine. Pretty much that's it. Now, what is the one cocktail that you created that gets people like me to start liking cocktail?
Again,
Be a
that's tough.
starter
So,
cocktail.
so for you being a bourbon drinker, I would probably make something that was bourbon or whiskey based, and it would be spirit forward. So lots of booze. Probably be a touch bitter, and I would stir it.
Okay.
It would be very simple and probably something with maybe Cynar in it, or something like that. A nice sweet vermouth, kind of a Boulevardier kind of thing. And I would imagine that you would really like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to come by and check it out.
Yeah.
You should.
So during your early days, we were going back 15 years or
Yeah.
so, when you were an upcoming bartender.
Sure, high volume.
Did you like fantasize about being Tom Cruise in cocktail?
No, but I knew my way around a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
So you could throw bottles up and down, spin it, and all kinds of stuff.
I could, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Did you teach that to any of your upcoming bartenders to do any of that stuff?
Not that, not that. We used to have a lot of fun doing it, because at a certain point after you've been doing it for 10 or 15 years, things start to get boring and monotonous, and so
Right.
you have to spice it up some way. So we would throw bottles around. We would kick bottles. We would throw them across the bar to each other, open beer bottles, like all kinds of crazy things, and lots of fun. And so that kept us mentally engaged,
Right.
and it kept it fun. And so that was a big lesson, like that made it fun again, So from there, we would just do that for fun, and like a lot of times we go out after like work, we would go over to somebody's house and like throw an empty bottle in the backyard and do silly stuff with it. That again was a lot of fun, but that was more like there was no teaching; it was just playing. Playing to learn. Now it's a little different. Now you kind of have to take things a little bit more serious, like with the recipes and the techniques and things
Correct.
like that.
Correct.
It's not as much fun or not as much playful as it is learning.
Got it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Recently, I watched YouTube videos or something on Netflix about a place in New York, and most of apparently the good bars and restaurants buy ice just from this one place. That's all they make and sell. It's just the square, maybe also globe. I can't remember. It's a special ice,
Specialized,
but
yes.
it's made from New York tap water.
That's funny. Well, that's what, the people always talk about New York tap water, the bagels and the pizza. Right? That's why it tastes so good. It's because of the water. The water. The water.
Yeah.
Why does that taste so good? Because of the water.
So
but
do we have something like that in the Charlotte area?
We do. So I've got some really good friends over at Artisan Ice, and they just moved from North Charlotte to the Concord area. But they do really. It is cooler. They do artisanal ice, and so they started off being an ice sculptor business, and then realized that there is a market for craft cocktail ice, and so they just kind of reinvented themselves, or a new department, if you will, and so they'll do that. And if you want some really nice crystal clear beautiful cubes or spheres or sculpture, Artisan Ice, definitely check those guys out. Tell them Bob sent you.
So now, real quick on the commercial side of that, having that special ice, what percentage of the cost increases to that cocktail?
It's not crazy. I don't want to quote anything in case I'm wrong over the airwaves here, but it's not crazy. But there is a cost associated with it.
But does that really equate to the percentage of the quality of the drink getting better?
So I would say that perception is a large part of reality.
Okay, that's what I was getting to. Okay.
And so I think personally that if you have something really beautiful and it tastes great, that your perceived value of that is increased. I think if something tastes great and it looks terrible, then it's going to be a lesser value, a lesser perceived value, right?
Sure.
So if you and I call that like a half a cocktail, because the goal, right, just like food, is to have something that is extremely tasty and extremely beautiful at the same time. So then all of a sudden you have this very elevated experience. And so I do think that it helps. And I think if you wanted to talk about, some people are very particular with their water, tap water and city water and things like that. And so also if you want to say that, then they filter their water, of course, and they use really beautiful additive free, and it doesn't have chemicals or anything in it. So that also can translate, especially with bourbon people. You know what I mean? Bourbon people are very particular about their ice, because if it has fluoride in it, or too much chlorine in the water, then that kind of translates to the ice, which then gets into your bourbon, which changes the experience. So I think it's one of those really neat things that is sort of developed into not necessarily, but almost a need.
Wow. Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Shout out Artisan Ice.
Since you're on this, like the business of the restaurant industry, like the importance of a profitable drink section to a restaurant's bottom line.
So I mean, job security here, I think it's the most important part, right?
Right. It should be 50% of your revenue, right? I mean, it. If you've got a great cocktail program, it can be up there. Yeah.
Honestly, and not to give anything away, but like the profit margins in your alcohol sales is much greater than it is in your food sales.
Yeah, and that's no secret. Yeah,
right. There's not as much waste in the booze side of things, and also like you don't have to pay bartenders as much at this point as you do your highly skilled talent in the back of the house, your chefs, and then your dishwashers, and then all of those things that are put on top of that. So it can definitely catapult your restaurant to a whole nother level of profitability if it's done right. But the bad thing is, especially lately, and I know everybody can relate to this, is like things have just gotten so expensive lately.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, things have gotten really, really, really expensive. And so that makes the people that are running the restaurants look bad, like we're trying to gouge somebody, but it's like, listen, I swear, like we just are trying to stay open. Like nobody's retiring over here. You know what I mean? Like you don't really see that often. I mean, the fantasy is like owning a restaurant, being a rich person, but the fantasy is the real world is a whole lot different than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like way different. So
what are some common mistakes you see with restaurants and their drinks menu or the drinks department?
So here's one that I see a lot is, and I understand for certain markets like Rock Hill loves their bourbon. You know what I mean? And if we were at the beach, then we would love our rum. You know what I mean? It's just how it is, right? So, but I do see ingredients used heavily sometimes in menus, cocktail menus. Like, let's say one ingredient is a Saint Germain that I see sometimes. That's starting to fade out of sort of the favor, sort of falling out of favor a little bit. But it's a really great ingredient. It's an elderflower liqueur, but it got overused for a long time, and so it got the reputation of being bartender's ketchup. So, like, you would see it like out of 10 drinks, it'd be on like 3 or 4 drinks in the menu. And you're like, man,
it's like everything's got
everything's
good.
It's better with ketchup. You know? So that I saw as a common mistake. And I can't even really call that a mistake. I would call that more like, like a faux pas.
Right.
It's like overusing an ingredient. Like you can't have 4 steak dishes on a menu.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Even if it sells really well, you still gotta have chicken, you still gotta have fish, you still gotta have this and that. And that to me is a well balanced menu. Food wise, and the cocktail menu is also the same way. You gotta have a well balanced menu.
Did you know that over 13 million 941 forms are e-filed annually? Don't keep filing on paper. Join the millions and switch to e-filing this tax season. TaxBandits.com makes e-filing easy with quick and secure filing and an audit check to help you avoid common errors. E-file now at TaxBandits.com.
So we just cracked the E.H. Taylor, and you were kind enough to step out and grab your bitters, but we're not going to actually add it to this at your recommendation.
I mean, the bitters are amazing. However, Colonel Taylor, like if we were going to make an old fashioned with this, if we had some really nice sugar, then you know what I mean. Like let's have at it.
Right.
But that's a pretty nice bottle right there. That's a $100+ bottle, I think, of bourbon.
Cheers, sir.
Hey,
I
cheers.
think leave it alone.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
All right.
Oh, like a hand in a glove.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it.
Nice. So, you're a fan, E.H. Taylor.
Yeah.
We're in a kind of an era now with bourbons where the sort of highly allocated stuff gets this insane secondary market valuation.
Supply and demand at its finest.
Supply and demand. You'd say there's a handful of them that some people say are probably not worth it at secondary market type prices.
It depends on how much money you have.
Right. Depends on what your value is.
Yeah, exactly. That perceived value.
Back to perceived value,
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that they're selling at the secondary market on those prices proves that they are at least valuable to them.
If somebody's, if you see it for the same price over and over again,
Right.
like Pappy,
Right.
like the Pappy 10-year, which is probably a $60 bottle.
Yeah.
Let's call it $75, just to be high end on that. You can easily get $1,000 for that on the secondary market.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty standard.
Yeah. That's wild.
And people pay it all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. That's why you see it for about $1,000 every time you see it, because that's kind of going secondary rate right now, or secondary market rate.
Wow.
So, I mean,
Are there
capitalism, there you go.
That's true.
Do you collect any of these special liquors or bourbon or any of this stuff?
I try to.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of drinking them as well. And so they typically don't sit on my shelf for too long. I've got a couple that I'll probably hold on to for a while. I've got a really nice Whistle Pig Boss Hog. That's a couple years old now. That's probably up there in its value, and I haven't cracked that one yet. Waiting for a really, 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 really amazing event, like when the UFO lands or something. And be like, all right, well, let's crack it open. Let's crack open the Boss Hog, guys. Maybe it's time.
Is there
See, my theory on that is I have a really good collection of bourbon and other drinks, but I'll open any bottle.
Yeah.
As long as it's the right company and they say, well, this is what I want to drink. And I'm like, I think you should. I'll open it.
Yep.
Not a problem.
If it's a really nice bottle in my house, then if I have 2 of them, I'll open one.
Yeah.
And then we'll drink however long it takes to drink through that first bottle is fine. But I won't open that second bottle until I have something to replace it with. And that's where you have all the things that you want to share, and if you can't share it, then you'd be like, all right, well, I will, but it's just going to take a second till I get another one of those fancy bottles over there.
Gotcha.
I have the bottle that you said.
Boss Hog?
I'm trying to look for it here in my list.
Yeah, that bottle every year wins huge awards every year. So they put out one release of that every year, and I don't know, I can't remember what number we're up to now. It might be 10, 11, 12, 13 or something like that.
Yep. I have one, so if you want to come over, I'll open the bottle.
Let's go. I actually went to the Whistle Pig Distillery. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot. That was a ton of fun, and really an amazing experience to go up in Vermont, and like it's on a farm, and so I got to meet the pigs and all the things. It was a really beautiful experience, and went with the guys from Southern Spirits, the liquor store right across the North Carolina, South Carolina, or right across the North Carolina border into South Carolina, so not too far away from here.
Yeah.
They're super nice guys. Nice. We had a blast, to say the least.
What do you say is the most underrated drink in your opinion?
Underrated drink that he makes, or
in general?
In general, okay.
Oh God, that's tough.
Is it easier to say what's the most overrated in your opinion?
Well, I've got a lot of those. We could be here all day. I'm trying to think underrated. So I think that, there's one that I will say that I don't think gets drank enough. Is that right? Drank enough? Drunken?
Yeah.
Drinking?
Yeah.
Drunken.
We've had a few sips.
Drank.
Sip enough.
People don't consume it
People
enough.
do not consume enough.
Yes.
I love a good mint julep.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't understand why.
Why is it only around the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
That people get
That's what I
excited
drank
about?
it, man. My God, all day.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. And when made the right way, you can have a bunch of them and not be, well, eventually
That is not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
I was there at the Derby.
That's hilarious. That's not true. But no, like I've tried to put them on a couple of the menus, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna kill. You know, it's getting ready to be summer. Like mint julep. Like, what could be better? Nobody's interested.
Really?
Yeah.
I think people think it's just like they just associate with a very specific time period.
I mean, I guess it's hard to get in other people's heads because that's a scary place to be.
Right.
But no, I don't know. I think it's. I think people think that maybe it's too strong sometimes. You know, and you are right. Like it get you there quick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a tiny sip. But I love them. I think they're great. And I think more people should be drinking mint juleps year round.
Yeah.
You know, all the time.
I had a lot of azalea at the Masters.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for
That
sure.
goes down pretty quick too.
Oh, that's a drink. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I would say probably overrated drink, and this is waning in its popularity, but it's coming back a little bit, is the dirty martini.
Oh,
I was just going to ask you, what do you think about
Yeah.
Bold of Martini? What's happening? I don't really hear
So
anyone
the
talking
dirty
about
martini, like it gets, I'm not a huge fan because it's like olive brine and vodka typically.
Yeah.
And so that just tastes like ocean water.
Yeah. You
Like,
think?
does anybody ever go like wake up in the morning or like, oh God, it's 5 o'clock. I'm exhausted. I could really love a big glass of ocean water. How about some brine? I would love brine.
Where
right
did this
now.
whole dirty martini start from? How did that become popular?
It's James Bond.
No.
Well, that was a
super
different
popular.
drink.
It's not. That's a.
Oh.
But dirty martini, and in my bartending career, really started taking off during the vodka boom. And so that was late 90s. And so that was the vodka boom when all of a sudden all the flavors started popping up and all that crazy stuff. And vodka actually became more popular than bourbon for the first time ever. Because vodka, getting back to your James Bond story, used to be incredibly unpopular, like not popular at all because it was from Russia. And so during the 50s and the Red Scare with McCarthyism and all those things, nobody would be associated by consuming or buying or anything Russian.
Out
so
of fashion.
it was communists,
Yes.
downright communists, to
right.
drink something Russian. So nobody was drinking vodka. So it was either Stoli or Smirnoff. I can't remember who it was in the story, but they were hurting and they wanted to get into the American market. So they actually paid Ian Fleming, the writer of the James Bond novels, to write in James Bond drinking a vodka drink. And so Ian Fleming came up with the drink, James Bond's drink that he drank in Casino Royale, which is called, God, I'm blanking right now. I'm going to get so much hate for this. Vodka gin and Lillet Blanc.
Okay.
And so he wanted it shaken and not stirred, but
Right.
that's improper. What's proper is to stir it instead of to shake it. But he was a rebel and liked things done
Right.
backwards or the wrong way because he was a rebel. So he wanted it shaken, not stirred. But that drink actually did well because everybody was like, oh, it's called a Vesper, sorry. Duh. And so people wanted to drink his drink. And so all of a sudden, vodka started actually selling. So that was one of the first ever examples of product placement that you could see that worked.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Nice.
Now, I've heard, I have this written down actually, the shaken not stirred thing is because it somehow waters it down more so you can drink more.
Yep.
So it's improper, but he could drink more than it not be messed
That,
up.
I mean, sure, you can take
know if that's
take
true,
it
but-
however you want, but yes, for sure. Like if we were talking about technique, then there's two different basic ways that you can make a cocktail. One of them is a shaken, which typically is juice or something muddled fruit or something in it, and then typically, not all the time, but as a rule of thumb, if a drink just has booze in it, then you stir it because it does get less watered down, and not only that, but it doesn't aerate as much. When you shake it, it aerates as well, so that thins out the drink because there's air in it.
Yeah.
So the
Gotcha.
flavor is totally different, which is crazy to me and one of my favorite things. Yeah,
That's cool.
Fascinating.
I know. Right?
Yeah.
It's not just a pretty face, guys. Okay.
So do you, working in the restaurant industry and the bar industry, obviously you're very involved in the bar side of things. What about the food side of things? Do you get involved in pairing drinks with food, or you just leave that to the chefs?
I am really good at pairing my drinks with their food. I've done that quite a bit over like years and years and years. From I'm trying to think the first time I did that. I can't even remember, but it's quite fun, you know. And so the idea is to bounce flavors off of food as opposed to match it, you know, because it's not really that interesting to eat like a chocolate brownie with like a chocolate shake.
Right.
Right.
But it is really good when you have a chocolate brownie and have a vanilla shake.
Right.
Okay.
You know, you're like,
Right.
oh, now that's yummy right there.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, and I've done that a lot. I'm very lucky with the executive chef Chris Coleman, who is one of the founding partners of BOH, Built on Hospitality, our restaurant group. And I've been to the James Beard House with him before, which was a lot of fun. We went up to New York City to represent the city of Charlotte, and were asked to cook at the James Beard House for an event, which is, I mean, not exactly, but I tell people it's kind of like being asked to perform at the Grammys. Like it's like one of the highest honors and accolades that you can sort of get through in your food and beverage industry. So like that was a lot of fun, and he and I both have done that twice.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a big feather in my cap and something that I'm really, really happy with, and great experiences overall.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Do you get involved in the beer business at all? Brewery?
I had to sort of go so far down the rabbit hole that I was unable to hold on to my beer knowledge. And as I was kind of doing that, the craft beer world started to explode as well.
Yeah.
And so I could focus my attention on one or the other, but I just simply don't have the bandwidth or the sobriety to do both at the same time.
Right.
So I let other people kind of do the
Okay.
beer and the wine
Gotcha.
who know more, and I'm happy to be to not know as much as somebody else. Like I love it when somebody else knows more than me. Like I don't know a ton about Scotch, so if you're a Scotch guy, then I'll sit and listen. You know, I'm happy to.
Do you have a favorite splurge drink or food?
Ooh, I mean, so good food or good drink, you
Yeah.
know, like any of that, I definitely am happy to pay good money for, because you know you're going to get something great. And so anytime you're at a really nice restaurant, if you don't like mushrooms, but you can see that dish has mushrooms in it, you don't say at a really nice restaurant, hey, Can you pick the mushrooms out? You know, I mean, you can, and they'll do it, right? But like if you do try it, and then typically it's like the most amazing mushroom thing you've ever had, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe I do love mushrooms. Right. Maybe I love them because that was insanely cool. So that is kind of what I do when I also on the drink side of things. You know, if I'm in a really nice place, I'll just say, hey, what have you been working on? I like bourbon, I like boozy, and I like stirred. Like hook it up. You know, I'll take whatever you want to make.
Yeah. Do you ever make a honest response back to them if you tried a brand new cocktail and you told them just make something that you feel like making or you are known for, and they make it, and if it's not good enough, do you give them a honest opinion back?
I will hint around it without, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you know. And sometimes it's just your personal opinion, your personal preferences. A lot of times that's all it is. So I will kind of hint around it. I'll be like, oh, well, did you think about maybe using a little bit of orange juice instead of all lemon juice, you know, or whatever it is, and just sort of throw out some things for them to think about if I think it might be able to get a little bit better. But again, that sounds terrible. I'm sorry. I don't know more.
I just remember.
I don't know more.
It was a few years ago. We were in Louisville, and after a night of good food and a lot of good drinks, ended up in this bar. I can't remember the name of the bar with a couple of our friends. And the mixologist made a special drink when one of the gentlemen said, just make us what you're known for. Yeah. He spent like 20 minutes making 4 drinks with all kinds of ingredients. I took a sip. I was like, ugh, that was disgusting. I don't want to see. He kept asking me, how's the drink? How's the drink? I'm like, yeah, it's great, man. But I just left the drink sitting there. I didn't take the second sip. I never went back to that drink. Yeah. And every time he would walk away, I would give it to somebody. Like, guys, take a drink. But all 4 of us hated the drink. And we were like, how do we dispose this drink without upsetting him? Yeah. And it was a hard time.
Nobody
you just go like this. Just knock it back. Just shoot it. That's what I do if it's really bad. Pinch your nose and shoot it.
No, that's a good point. We didn't think about that. Cool. So, what I mean, running all these businesses and constantly having to be creative, do you ever find any free time to do anything else other than the restaurant bar industry?
I love my wife and I love my daughter. And they travel a lot, so when they're home, I'm with them for sure.
Do you get a chance to have any hobbies at all other than?
I've got a really cool home bar. Yeah, you guys, next time y'all are in Charlotte, come by the garage bar. We'll do this again, except for we won't record, but we'll drink more bourbon.
Perfect. No, because I worked in the cruise ship industry for a long time, and I don't ever remember being able to celebrate Christmas or New Year or birthdays or Thanksgiving on the day off. It was always like 2 days after, which is part of the hospitality industry.
Yeah, 100%.
So you've been on it for so many years. How does your family life support that, and what do they think about that?
Well, it's interesting because now that I'm more on the organizational side and less on the operating side, it tends to be where I do have, like, I have the weekends off right now.
Oh, cool.
I mean, I do work a lot on Saturdays doing, various things to get caught up, especially since we have new concepts coming up. However, if I need to take off for something, these days I'm old enough where I can finally found some tenure, 1,500 years later, where they don't mind if I take a day off every now and again.
Very cool. See, that's one thing about the hospitality industry is like you have to accept it that you're not going to be home for all those special days.
That's right. Yeah. But, if somebody was like, listen, my mom's sick or something like that, I'll be like, beat it. I'll cover your shift.
Right.
No problem. I got you.
Yeah, we talked about your bitters a little bit, but we didn't.
Let's talk about. We didn't talk about.
Yeah, we sort of. We may not have been recording.
He's making it.
But yeah, this is your brand. Yeah. Better Bitters.
Better Bitters.
So let's talk about that partnership. How did you get involved in the production side?
It should be Peter Better Bitters.
We might change it.
Peter picked a peck of
Better Bitters. So Robbie and Caroline Delaney, who own Muddy Rivers Distillery out of Belmont and Mount Holly, they own a rum distillery, Muddy Rivers, and they are wonderful people, and I've known them for a long time now, well over 10 years. I think well over 10 years. And they make some really amazing rum. And they came to me one day and they were like, hey, you want to make some bitters? And I was like, yeah, when do we start? So we've been working on this project. We just put this out right before Christmas. I think it was December maybe. Wow. And so far so good. We're really proud of the project, but we've been working on this for probably 3 years.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's not something you can rush along. This is something that you've got to baby and you've got to love. And we really enjoyed the process of it. And Robbie and Caroline and their whole team over there are just wonderful people. So it made it even that much more enjoyable. But it definitely is a labor of love. Yeah. And we didn't want to cut any corners. So, time takes time, and that's something that some people want to cheat, but you just can't cheat time.
So let's talk about kind of the base, like what goes into making bitters. What are some of the top things that you need?
Think spices and bittering agents.
Gotcha.
So like some ginseng and think lots of cinnamon in this version, and then cherry and orange, and then spices and spices and spices and spices and all of these things. And we have aged them with really nice rum. Okay. And so if you think about the traditional sort of industry standard, which is Angostura, that actually is out of Trinidad, and that originally was a rum company as well. So we just wanted to make something with really high quality ingredients, something to make your drink just a little bit better. And so that's how we kind of came up with the idea of better bitters.
What are some recommended uses for it? You dress up an old fashioned, something like that.
For sure. These are aromatic bitters, so this is kind of the basis for several really classic cocktails. And anything you find a classic sort of recipe in with bitters, even if it's Pashad's bitters, I think that this would be a great substitute or stand in for some of those things. I also have, there's old wives' tales, and one of those old wives' tales is how do you get rid of the hiccups, right? So one of them is bitters and soda water. And that also will settle your stomach because this has got so many herbs and spices sort of in it that will settle your stomach. So you can take 4 or 5 dashes of bitters and put it in a glass of soda water, give it a little stir. If it's way too bitter, which it will be bitter, but you could put a little bit of orange juice in there or something like that. It's fresh, always fresh, and then just drink it, and that'll settle your stomach in a really quick fashion. And it's not bad for you. You know what I mean? There's no secret ingredients or chemicals really in there. Right. So that's great. You can also add this. You can add bitters to cooking. Yeah. And that's not something that most people do, but I think that it's used in a sparing amount. This and a chili recipe would be insanely good. Because this is like liquid spice. Yeah. That's really what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to have to put this bottle on inside Span Air too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cocktail shelf.
Yeah. There you go. Have a little.
So next flight, we can make some
special little old-fashioned.
Yeah, we're going to come out eventually with little tiny bottles that you can take on the plane with you. So you can make your old-fashioned on the plane.
Yeah.
Where can people find it?
Where can people find it? Yeah.
So you can definitely find them at the distillery, the Muddy Rivers Distillery. We're going to try to get on Amazon pretty soon, and then we also have a couple of markets that have it, like the Rhino Markets in Charlotte, as well as a People's Market in Charlotte. I know I'm probably forgetting about somebody, so I'm sorry, whoever it is I'm forgetting about. But a couple local markets. We're trying to go slowly at first to make sure that everything is done the right way.
Is there? I don't know if we got into it when we were talking about bourbons and stuff, but is there a particular liquor or bottle that you're always on the hunt for? You reference the Boss Hog is one personal favorite right now. Or?
I'm always looking for it, but a lot of times if I see it, I can't afford it. So okay, well there it is. Yay! Look, right there. It's right there. Can I touch it? No, that the one that I see occasionally that's a really great find. That is not too crazy expensive. Typically, no matter when I see it, I can I'm okay, I'll get it because it's a $55 or $60 bottle, which is not crazy. I mean, that's not inexpensive, but I mean that's not bad. So most of the time, I'll be okay, well, I don't know when I'm gonna see this again. It might be next week. It might be 6 months from now. I don't know. So typically I'll buy it when I see it, and that is Willet Pot Stilled Reserve.
Okay, is that the one with the funny shape?
Yeah,
Okay,
it looks
gotcha.
like a lamp or something, or a bong or something.
Gotcha.
It's got that funny base and then a really long, tall, skinny neck, and it tastes like beautiful silky caramel.
Okay.
It's insanely good. It's not too sweet though. I say caramel, and people are like, that's too sweet. No, not. It tastes like bourbon caramel.
Right.
It's insanely delicious. It's very silky smooth, and again, like $55-$60 a bottle. I mean, I'll sold. I'll take it.
Cool.
Okay. I have a little bit of an activity here. It's sort of a word association game.
Okay.
Where I'll give you an environment, and you tell me the perfect drink for that environment.
Cool. Okay. I'm in.
All right. Are you good? All right.
You guys do a lot of research.
There's a lot of research.
That's great.
We have a whole team that's doing this. Sitting on the beach.
How about something rum and fruity, like kind of like a hurricane?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mountain cabin.
Straight bourbon.
Oh, yeah. All right. Drink choice for a long flight.
Straight bourbon.
Straight bourbon. It's like, oh, this is going to be easy.
Let me think about that. I mean, that's kind of all.
Sounds like Aggie's answers.
That's right.
No, I start with the beer. As soon as I get on a long flight, international flight, I start with the beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically the flight leaves about 6 o'clock. Start with the beer, and then switch to bourbon.
Okay.
And then with the dinner, I go to wine,
Mm.
and then go back to bourbon. And then I go to sleep.
You're talking about over the course of how many hours?
I don't know.
You're talking
Eight-
30 minutes.
Beer before liquor.
Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying the long flight.
Long flight.
Yeah,
What's
that
your
was a long
choice?
flight. I mean, I think it's always easy to sort of slide into something really simple, like, I don't know, like a mimosa or something. Especially if it's early and you're like, I'm not getting off this plane for a day, you know, then like a mimosa. It's easy to kind of gently bring yourself into it. Again, especially if it's early when you take off. And then vodka sodas always go down real easy. And then, you know, with your snack, maybe, I don't know. There's not a lot to choose from on an airplane.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll take a bourbon and Coke or
Yeah.
rum and Coke or something with your salty snack.
Right.
And then bourbon.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify those drinks when I'm not flying the plane.
Right.
When I'm a passenger, not when I'm piloting the plane. I want to make sure that is very clear.
Perfectly clear.
No, perfectly clear, yes.
You can be my captain.
Professional networking event.
Oh, probably like a beer or something easy and light, like a vodka soda, gin, tonic, or something like that.
Okay. Summer day by the pool.
Oh, a jalapeno paloma.
Ooh, okay.
How about that?
Interesting.
So that is a
What goes
paloma
into a
is Mexico's national cocktail. And so at Goodyear House, one of our places, we have a jalapeno paloma on tap, and that's probably our number one seller. We've got a big, beautiful patio out there. And then we have a paloma at Old Town, and it absolutely flies. It's, in my opinion, way better than a margarita because it's got grapefruit and fresh lime, and then Jarritos grapefruit soda in there. And I don't like sodas that much, especially with booze.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most amazing things I've ever had in my life. It's made with cane sugar, and I know this sounds nerdy. It's made with cane sugar instead of corn syrup, so like the texture is insanely beautiful. And that's what people in Mexico drink. They don't drink margaritas. That's just for tourists and resorts.
Nice. Nice. Christmas party.
Oh, a nice spicy, meaning spices like nutmeg and chai tea and things like that. A nice punch.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brunch.
I would probably have to go bourbon.
Bourbon.
No, a mimosa. You guys, this guy's got a problem. No, I would definitely mimosa. I mean, that's so easy.
That's the standard
That's so
brunch.
easy for sure.
A date night.
Okay, that's good. I mean, there's nothing more romantic than splitting a bottle of wine. You know, like
Okay.
I think that's probably it.
In an armchair, unwinding after a long day.
Well, we know where that goes.
Bourbon.
But you know what? Like to mix it up a little bit. Like I should have probably started this mixing it up earlier.
He set you up, man.
Mezcal. Mezcal.
there you
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try this mezcal.
I gotta
thing.
try
It's
yeah,
fantastic.
really interesting,
It can be just as complex and beautiful as a nice bourbon for sure.
A dive bar or restaurant with a limited menu.
Beer and a shot,
Okay.
either tequila or bourbon.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have
cheap
tried-
beers and shots, man. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Ooh,
Nothing wrong with
I've
that.
tried doing that. Cannot do it.
Final one. Backyard cookout.
That's got to be beer.
It's got to be beer. You know, like I have tried the what are they? The seltzers. You know,
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I know you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
like
White
I've
Claws.
oh excuse me, I've kind of tasted around a little bit with that stuff, and they're all pretty close to the same, you know. But somebody gave me a one from that I thought was surprisingly good, and I was shocked from where it came from Costco. The Kirkland brand seltzers are pretty dang good.
Interesting.
The ones that I've had, yeah. I was like, what is this? I was like, that's not bad. That actually tastes like lime.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
How about that? It doesn't have that artificial taste. Is it the artificial taste that kind of gets you?
Yeah, it gets me. That, you know,
Sounds
it's
like-
kind of a shock to my palate a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that does not taste like it should taste. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's not really supposed to. So, yeah.
All right, cool. To round things out, just a few questions here about sort of what you're consuming right now. Is there any particular music that you're listening to right now? Do you?
Lots of old school hip hop. That's constant. I'm a kid of the '90s, so you know, my Tribe Called Quest and you know, sort of the golden era hip hop is definitely in there, and then you know, like also Mos Def and Common and Talib Kweli. Like those are some big ones that are always on heavy rotation around my car or my house.
Yeah, awesome. What are you reading right now?
A cocktail book.
Okay.
There's always
is-
one. Yeah.
So what is that? Is like a? You're talking like a recipe book. You're talking
A lot of times, and sometimes it'll sort of stray into an actual cooking book if I'm
Gotcha.
I'll thumb through that, but I can't remember which one it is now. I've gotten so many lately. It's always like an easy go-to if somebody's looking to give you like a Christmas present, like the in-laws or my wife or whatever. I'm like, just give me a cocktail book, whatever. Just pick one.
Okay.
If you don't see it on the shelf, you can buy it, and I'm happy with it. There's always something to learn.
Yeah. What are you watching right now?
So, I'm trying to think what is appropriate. I've been watching a whole lot of Dateline, like all the old murder mystery episodes of Dateline. I've been watching that for weeks and weeks and weeks, just kind of on constant play.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and so people are like, "Do you watch that?" And I'm like, "Yes." When I fall asleep, I do. I like the monotone voice, you know. Where it's like, and then they got into the back seat for the last time. And I find that monotone thing
It
like
helps
it's
you sleep?
relaxing. It's
Yeah.
like the hum. It's like the hum of a ceiling fan. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And for the last time. Also when I'm trying to keep it light, I love watching The Office that I referred to earlier. Like that's one of my go-tos. I can watch that on repeat for months and months and months, and just start back over at episode 1 and keep going. It's constantly funny. Arrested Development's also one of my favorite
Yep.
go-tos for funny stuff like that. Just absolutely cracks me up. The first 3 seasons are just side splitting. In that same vein, Archer's great. Rick and Morty also, like just side splitting, like funny kind of. It's almost like action dialogue movies or shows, like it's just constant fast pitch vocabulary.
Any things to plug? You talked a little bit about your new projects coming up here.
So keep your eye out for Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's coming in hopefully about a month. I'm super excited about that. Also Folia in the South End. We've got some things that might pop up around there as well. So if you guys want to follow Built on Hospitality, which is the restaurant group, that'll keep things happening the right way on social media. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right It's built_on_hospitality. That's Instagram.
And that'll be linked in the description.
Yeah, okay. And then that has all of our restaurants and concepts and things coming and all those things. Folia as well. Folia.Southend, and then Chiefs_NoDa, and then Bob_Peters, Goodyear House, Haymaker, Old Town, Rock Hill. Be looking out for all those things. And again, we got plenty of events coming up and lots of bourbon dinners and things for everybody to come hang out and do, whether they're in Rock Hill or Charlotte. And there might be some other cities coming too. You never know.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Exciting. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for joining the Bandit
Thank
Room.
you guys so
man,
much.
that
It's
was
been
great.
an honor.
Thank you.
Really, really a blast hanging out with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this episode. Stick around next week to see what we talk about on the Bandit Room.
The Bandit Room is a production of Span Enterprises, located in sunny Rock Hill, South Carolina. We've been developing, supporting, and growing successful IRS e-filing and business management solutions since 2010. Go to SpanEnterprises.com now to learn more. The views and opinions expressed in the Bandit Room are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect or state the opinions of Span Enterprises. No information should be considered as tax, legal, or other professional advice.